Welcome to your daily Google News. I'm really excited about today. We have every strategist here at Solutions 8. This is our entire strategy team. I'm going to go in sequence as I see them on my screen here. We've got Caden, Efe, Usama, and Onkar. And these are the real brains behind the operation. You've got John Moran, who's leading the charge, figuring stuff out, but these guys are really in the trenches day to day. Every single one of our accounts, every single one of our campaigns has a strategist attached to it. They're the last line of defense. They're the folks solving all the hard problems and also like figuring stuff out. When we roll out new stuff like Performance Max, these are the guys that behind the scenes are just going through epic Slack battles and trying to figure out what we're doing, how we're doing it, define best practices, define processes, etc. So all that said, we actually had this scheduled as an internal meeting. We were going to internally talk about how to structure audiences inside of Performance Max. And because I am a prolific content creator, I said, let's make this public. So gentlemen, I appreciate you all being here. Let's all talk at once.
Hello. I just want to point out that I named my pod Daily Google News. Just had to throw it out there.
I'm pretty sure you named Daily Google News. Wasn't that you?
Shout out to Gianluca if you're watching this. I also want to give him credit. We both kind of threw it out and just decided like every single video we want to post that. So here I am now.
That's funny. And so just to bring this, because this gets super meta and I think kind of fun. 3 out of 4 of you came from the YouTube channel, right? Usama, where'd you come from?
You made me pay to come here.
Yeah. So Usama took a course.
I would like a refund.
I'm going to charge all our employees now. You're setting the precedent. Yeah, Usama took our masterclass, but didn't you find the masterclass through the YouTube channel?
Yes.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. So Onkar's the only holdout. And just so if you're watching this, Onkar's our longest running specialist, I think, right? Onkar, it's you, Susmita, and Niraj. Were you the very first one?
Yeah, we were the dummies.
Yeah. He was our crash test dummy. He's now a strategist. He's a badass. And all right, so we're gonna dive into it. And right before this call, I'm just gonna embarrass all of us maybe. The question was, what do we hold back? Like, what do we not tell people because it's too good, it's too smart, it's too whatever? And Efe, who's bright red right by there, just so y'all know, like that's
Martian. He's a Martian.
It's not how he normally looks. There's something weird with his, I don't know. Where are you, Efe? What are you doing?
Mars, I keep telling you.
At a cafe. And the heater is on, so I'm all wet.
All right. So Efe's under a red light. Moonlighting. Efe said we give it all away. It's either 0 or 100. And for a couple of reasons. 1, because that's part of our core values and core ethos. 2, because if we don't say the smart thing and then somebody else says a smart thing, then we look stupid. And so we might as well just put it all out there. So we're going to do that. We're going to give everybody everything that we're thinking about. And I realize that there's a lot of preamble, but if you're probably used to this because I like the sound of my own voice. We're figuring this out as we go. And that's the point of this video. Like, y'all are going to watch us figure out our best practices right now today, and we're going to battle it all out. So I think I'm more moderator than anything because I'm clearly the dumbest person on this call. And just to put, did you say agreed? That's awesome. Just so everybody knows what we're talking about. When you go build a Performance Max campaign, you're going to give Google an audience signal. This is one of the most important, gosh, can I say the most important? This is the most important part of Performance Max, right?
It is. It is.
Right? So we're going to say audience signal. And when you go to give Google an audience signal, it's so robust. It's overwhelming the opportunities and capabilities. So that's what we're talking about today. Our entire strategy team is going to talk about audience signals and how to craft audience signals. And I think maybe we'll go specific with case studies or industry specific or whatever, but who wants to lead the charge?
I mean, we can throw it out and just say, hey, let's just talk about audiences. Let's just focus on that then, I guess. So I guess the first question that I was thinking about was essentially, how do audiences interact with each other with an asset group? Because, you have an asset group and then you have an audience, and that determines where the asset group is shown. The initial thought behind that was, Google recommends you have multiple different audiences and you throw those all in together, and then you're meeting their best practices. But what we discovered was that with audiences, you're not targeting something, you're just suggesting something. So if you have two signals, don't expect to be as narrowed down to just that is your audience. And so I guess we're kind of debating now as to how we want to structure that and maybe why we don't add in all the audiences together, because that allows us to see a lot more and see what's going on with the, each individual asset group. So I don't know if you guys want to start off and maybe discuss more about the reasoning behind that and sort of, where we cut that off.
I guess I'll take it from here. I'll, kind of chime in. So the idea behind audience signal, like Caden said, is to give the campaign some form of direction initially. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to follow it completely. It just means that we want to point it in the right direction to start, so it can find its customer faster and then build an avatar around those people and then go after more people like that. So the idea here comes in, like, who do we target? What are our main areas, or what are our main audience signals going to be? And right now, the ones we're kind of using are non-converters. Non-converters includes your visitors, your add to carts, and initiate checkouts. That's going to be a signal. Your converters, people that converted, because that's literally your avatar, people that buy from you. So that's a solid signal right there. The next one is going to be your demographic and interest targeting. And the thing about this one is that the more accurate you can get with your product, the better. The last one, what was the last one?
Custom segment.
Keywords.
Custom
I think
segments.
it's keywords.
Custom segments and keywords. These are going to be custom audiences with the most relevant keywords that you have out there. It could literally just be, if you've been running campaigns for a long time, it could literally just be every converted keyword on there into a custom segment and add it as a signal.
Usama, you're just listing the available audience types, right? You're not saying all of these live inside of one asset group.
No, they don't. Those are just all the ones that we've been working with right now, and how we structure them varies differently from each to each. I guess, no one else is talking, so I'll keep going.
I can take it from here. Like, for the keywords, I usually break it down to two, like one for search, like buying intent, and the other one is for people who search for this. I think these are two separate asset groups. And I just
wait. What was the second one, FA? One is search with buying intent. What was the second type of keyword?
It's for the people who search for this. So you have two options for the keywords. People usually create one, and the first one is the buying intent. If you could go to the custom segments, maybe you can share a screen.
Yeah.
So people who search for any of these terms. This is the second one.
Yeah, I create two separate asset groups for these because I like to see the performance of those differently, like separately. So I create a keyword search intent asset group, and I create a different campaign, which is buying intent. And I like to say that for the visitors segment group, I don't go all traffic because most of your traffic is not reliable. And for example, you have direct, you have organic, you have Google Ads, you have Facebook, you have TikTok. So maybe your Google organic traffic is good, but your Facebook agency, maybe they're not able to.
We don't talk about Facebook.
Not the best.
Facebook is a taboo word here. Don't bring that up ever.
Okay, so I only use.
You're gonna get fired by Kasim.
Yes, sources that works. Don't go for it all. Like 90 days only for organic, only for dry account, only for the sources that works. Don't take all. That's what I'm saying.
I think a lot of that too depends on, what your company's background is too. I mean, like, for example, if you're a small company, you want to be more controlled, meaning like, okay, we don't want to target everything. We want to focus on bottom of funnel first and then branch out from there. One thing that I like to do is, well, everyone likes to do, but my favorite is pretty much going into targeting competitor websites and using that as sort of a way to build a lookalike audience.
Where are you doing that, Caden? Are you doing that people who search for, or websites like?
In the search keywords. So like in the search terms, the second option, kind of the thing that you were at before. And I'll use like the website there. The key point with this though is it depends, like I said, all this depends on the company, the size of the company, how much ad spend, their goal. But one thing that I like to do to build a lookalike audience for people that have omni-channel, so like if you're running Facebook ads as well, is target a competitor website, because the biggest issue with just omni-channel as a whole is that you're going to have some overlap from separate, like from Facebook or email, whatever it is, and then having that bleed over into Google Ads. And so even though Performance Max goes more, outbound and trying to find people more so than, remarket people, I just think that it's a lot safer to use a competitor target versus just, like your own data to start. I like giving the option to do that. And a key point too with that is that if you're targeting a competitor, make sure that it's relevant to your ad spend and the size of your company. Because like, if I'm going to target, a Fortune 500 company, I mean, that's a very, very broad target. You're going to be targeting like, tons of people going to there. You have to sift through all that traffic. And I think niching down as much as possible to start off is a really good idea when building a lookalike audience.
You also want to make sure that your business is analogous to that competitor. We ran into this with real estate investing, where we'd have clients that their biggest competitor was HomeVestors, but HomeVestors had 5 products and they only had 1. And even though they were pari passu for that one product, there were 4 of the products that HomeVestors had that these guys didn't have. And so there was a ton of irrelevant traffic coming in from the competitor campaign.
Yeah. So there we can just target product pages of that competitor. So we we don't want to, let's say if we are targeting Home Depot. So there, let's say we have just one product similar to them. So we will just target that product URL, not the whole website.
And Onkar, would you get as granular as having a separate asset group for that? Okay. So one asset group, that one target, and you're going ultra specific. That's a lot of work. So, I mean, if somebody has 500 SKUs, that's not possible. How do you prioritize?
Product types.
Themes, yeah, it can be theme as well too.
If you're trying to split your Performance Max campaign and you have a lot of SKUs, you could either just toss them all together and see what works and then start optimizing from there. And B, if you want to be really picky, you can start splitting up your products by product type. So like if you're selling furniture, chairs will be one completely separate Performance Max campaign. The tables would be separate, and then I don't know what else, sofas would be separate. And the reason I say separate them out into separate Performance Max campaign is because once you start getting insights, it's easy to differentiate the keywords because you know what it is. But once you start getting audience signals, it doesn't tell you for what asset group that audience signal performed the best, right? So if you're selling chairs, tables, and sofas in the same Performance Max campaign, yes, it'll give you an audience signal of I don't know, let's just say employees. Yes, anything sofas, like it'll give you an audience signal of families, but you don't know which asset group it's associated to, which product type it's associated to, right? Making it very difficult for you to further optimize a campaign to be like, okay, let me create another asset group with revolving around this audience signal kind of situation.
Are we worried about the cross-pollination? Y'all remember with Smart Shopping, creating multiple accounts blocked remarketing? Does that happen with PMax?
So, well, I believe that you cannot, it doesn't prioritize remarketing across separate campaigns. I'm not sure if it completely blocks it out.
It was the Performance Max campaign that got the click remarkets it.
Right. But I don't know if you have like an audience signal that's targeting a website, I don't know if it'll pull that audience over.
So let's say you're selling chairs and you're selling tables and you have them 2 separate Performance Max accounts. The chairs got the click, but they ended up being interested in the tables. Do we lose the ability to remarket that customer?
Right. Well, that's kind of, I guess, one of the main debates there is how do we segment this out? Because sure, you can gear ad spend towards a certain product more, but then you lose the easy crossover between one product to the next.
Yeah, but to Usama's point, if you don't do it, you lose the ability to optimize against audiences for specific product types.
Exactly.
Poison.
Yeah.
So that's I want to pause there. That's kind of why you need strategists, right? You have to pick your poison and then know as you're going through, these are the risks. And so if you see atrophy or drop off, you know where that's coming from, and then you know potentially how to adjust for it later.
Well, I think ad spend too is a big factor with that too, because like, I mean, you can segment everything down, but if you're spending like, $3 a day for every product, you're you're not going to get anywhere with that. And so I think that at least in my experience, I found that when you have one Performance Max campaign with lower budget and then you scale that up, then you start breaking it out into separate campaigns, because then you have enough ad spend to build that full, top of funnel to bottom of funnel list from, segmenting the audiences. And then it makes it a lot easier. Like I said, if you have a client that's pushing like, hey, I want to push this certain product out more, then you now have that capability as well. And then to Usama's point, you can get even more granular with that. So I think that it's kind of like, you were saying earlier, it's kind of a situational case to where it's like, what type of company are you? What's your goals? What's the timeline? What's the budget? And then when all that's taken into account, that sort of helps determine whether or not, we decide if it's, one asset group, which I think in most cases, or one campaign, segmented out, asset groups versus multiple campaigns. And this is for e-commerce, by the way, not lead generation.
I want to just put a pin in that, make sure I understood. So what we're saying is the SOP potentially is no matter what, exceptions aside, 80% of the time, we start with one Performance Max campaign, and then use that in order to determine where we would spin accounts off.
So, well, that's how I like to do it. I don't know if everyone else here does it. I don't know if other people like to segment it out first, but I've just found.
Because the thing is, when you first create a campaign, it has a learning curve. And right now, all the accounts have smart shopping campaigns. So we create one Performance Max campaign to transfer that data, like the thing. And we just have to wait for it to take over to have some data in it to feed the algorithm. And once you have like a month with the Performance Max campaign, then you start splitting it into different campaigns.
Well, in a month, Google's education says 4 weeks. That's exactly what Google says too. It says a Performance Max campaign needs 4 weeks in order to prove efficacy.
Yeah, but it also depends on your budget. Like if you have $10 a day, then it won't take you like a month because you will not have enough data. Like if you're getting 10 clicks a day, then at the end of the week, I will not be able to say like 2% because we didn't even have like 100 people. I cannot make assumptions. So that's why Caden say that you need to have a decent budget and a decent line of work to feed the algorithm and feed the campaign.
Gotta understand, Performance Max targets pretty much every channel that Google has to offer. And if your budget doesn't support that, it won't be able to perform as effectively or as well as it could when it's trying to target people.
What are minimum budgets? It's an impossible question to answer. We'll put that aside. But e-commerce, national e-commerce.
Depends on the number of products.
Depends on SKUs.
I'll tell you all what I've been saying. You can tell me if I'm a liar. I've been saying if you can't spend $5,000 a month, then we're gonna have a hard time reaching critical mass.
Yep.
I think that's a good general rule of thumb. But at the end of the day, too, I mean, it depends on the CPCs as well.
Sure. I mean,
shout out to Uzair, but he has a theory that says $1 per product. I mean, maybe that's a good starting point.
$1 per product per month.
Yeah, like if you have like 10,000 products, even 5G won't cut it. So you should be able to spend $1 a product. Like you have,
I think that's a really good rule.
So that should be $100 a day.
The problem is we've got a bunch of clients that have low SKU counts, like 100 SKUs, and I don't want to tell them it's $100 a month.
No, but I think it's just like you can still make things work. It's just what's most optimal too. Like, and that's going from Uzair's perspective as well. Like we can even look at something to where you have just a very high ticket product that you only have like 10 of them, but you have to have a high budget just to be in the market itself, for bottom of funnel.
Well, so this is the most interesting part of the conversation for me, which is we're going to end up being able to identify, broadly speaking, a cost per audience. Because as we're targeting audiences, we're going to realize, oh gosh, this audience is super. It used to be the cost per click or cost per search term. Now it's going to be, if we're all going after the same audience, the cost for that audience is going to rise. So one of the tricks, and this gets very Facebooky, to Usama's point, I gave you credit. Google is turning into Facebook. This gets very Facebooky because now it's finding those fringe audiences, like who can be the most creative with the audience identification. Onkar, you've talked the least, and you're probably the smartest one on this call. So I want to hear from you. Where do you start? You have a brand new client, fresh out of the gate. Where do you start identifying audiences?
Okay, so first let's consider it's a low budget client. So let's say we have a $5,000 budget. So what I do, Google has learned and Google has evolved, right? The machine learning has evolved, the AI has evolved. So what I do, I try to not bet on certain categories. I will just target all products. Okay, I will segment it in asset groups. One asset group will target one audience. So like Usama said, we will target all visitors, all converters, non-converters, affinity, in-market, demographics, live events. So we have like, we will segment it out in 6-7 audiences, and then we will let Google decide which products he wants to target, which as the group is performing. Then in listing groups, we have all the data like custom segment purchase intent, that audience signal is performing. So what we will do, we will separate out, we will move the other categories, or sorry, asset groups or audience lists, audience signals to another asset performance max campaign. So we will use the first performance max campaign, which will just target custom segment audience, custom segment purchase intent. Then the second performance max campaign will target other audience signal. Then we will find in the second performance max campaign, we will find for the most performing, we will keep that there, and then we will move out the other audience signal to the third performance max campaign. That's how we should do it for a low budget client, because there we don't have the luxury to separate out the performance max campaign based on categories.
There's not enough money. So the way that I view that is a waterfall. You have performance max campaign number 1, which is like your core exploratory, and then performance max campaign 2 is where you find your granularities, and then performance max campaign 3 is where you feed those granularities in.
And then with Google Analytics, we will know that this product is performing. So in performance max 1, let's say, where our custom segment purchase intent audience is working, then we will try to look at the products, and then we'll start pausing the products which are getting most clicks, but they are not giving us conversions. So we'll try to pause it. We will try to connect Google Ads data to Google Analytics performance data. Like we have we get data in Google Analytics for a product list. So we will try to match it. We will check which product is converting, because the data, you will see that the data is different, because Google Ads use like 4-5 like it's on you which attribution model you want to use. But Google Analytics use last click data. Okay, so first you have to match that, and then you have to find out which products are performing in that specific performance max campaign, and then you have to keep the performing ones there, and you have to pause the other ones.
Optimizing by feed is really brilliant, man. I hadn't really thought about that. That's the same way we're optimizing smart shopping. What attribution model are we using? I know data driven is the recommended. What do y'all
position based if you don't have it, and then data driven?
Yes. And one more thing, whenever you are switching from smart shopping to performance max, you have to change the attribution model. So for smart shopping, we like, for all of our accounts, we were running on first click, but like after after creating performance max campaign, or after running performance max campaign, we found out that Google is still attributing conversions to the old campaigns, like the smart shopping campaign. So then we figure out that this is happening, and then we change the we have to change the attribution model. So like Google also recommends data driven, but if we don't have data driven, we can use position based or maybe time decay.
You guys, why wouldn't somebody have data driven? Didn't Google make that? It was like September of last year that they made it the default. It's still not available to some accounts?
It's still not available for all accounts.
No, it's not available.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Not yet. Also, isn't there like a rule of something that you need to spend or get certain amount of conversions on a month to get data driven?
500 conversions.
Yeah,
I think. 500
like
conversions, and then
just to have it, you need to have like 500 conversions.
That's so funny. In order to get the data, you have to have the data. Thank you, Google. I like Usama's, or I like Onkar's waterfall model, the PMax, the 3 PMax campaigns. Is that only for low spend?
Yes, because then we
segmentation,
like we are doing with a big brand, that we can segment it how we want it. So in performance max, it's better if you segment it based on products, and then if you want to segment it, and within that product categories, we can segment it with audience signals. But if you have more budget, then you can create a specific campaign for a specific product group or product category and a specific audience signal.
So there's a question I want everybody to answer is, what's your favorite audience signal type? You know, there's like 9 different input boxes. Onkar, you go first. What's your favorite audience signal?
Affinity. For my campaigns, like affinity is working good. So yeah, my answer will be affinity okay. Audience.
So 1 for affinity. Who's next?
Definitely like custom segments, without a doubt. Competitor, I just find competitor works really well. Especially when it comes to scaling too, because you're leveraging, you know, their data per se. So you essentially can build, like, you can find the commonalities between each of your avatars and then figure out, okay, this is the type of people that are buying on this website, and then target them. And then essentially just fast forward to the lookalike audience. That's what I like to do the most.
That's great. So we've got 1 for affinity, 1 for custom segments specifically for competitors, which is a great pro tip. Who's next?
I can go. I like to start with converters, a customer list if I have it, and then to scale because it builds an avatar, and then to scale add competitors because now you can broaden out.
I love uploading the customer list. I think that's wicked ninja. It's like, here's everybody that already gave you a bunch of money. Like, let's just go. And Google's going to expand from there. So it's not that they're just targeting those people. They're using those people to find the other people. FA, Mr. Red.
I have to go with the I have to go with the customer list too, because when you first start, if you spend like $2,000, you have, let's say, 100 conversions, but that client can give you like 9,000 people out of the blue, and you can just start with everything you have.
I think a lot of that too is geared towards the size of the company as well, because I know that you used to be able to, last I saw, you can't do it, where you can directly add the audience signal of a customer list to an asset group, but now we're not allowed to do that. So we have to kind of, you know, bypass that. So
wait, what did you say, Caden? What aren't we allowed to do?
So we can't. So originally we were able to add a customer list to an audience signal. And I just found recently that I can't do that. And I think like 5 accounts have tried to do that due to privacy. I don't know what it is, but for the last week, I've been unable to do that. So a workaround is essentially uploading the customer list into just, you know, uploading a customer list and then having that audience signal be all converters and then all website visitors as well. So it kind of blends those two together, but I haven't been able to just have a customer list.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that we'd lost that capability.
I mean, who knows? Like they give stuff and then they take it back every single day with Performance Max. So I'll see something that works, and the next day it's like, oh, it's not there anymore. And then there's something else that's new.
So in my little sandbox here, it's letting me pull from my custom segments. So I can create a data list in Audience Manager, go to Audience Manager, create whatever segment I want. So in
then we have it again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's also, it could be per account. I remember Facebook doing this all the damn time. I'd have an audience that I really loved, and then all of a sudden I'd wake up and that audience would be gone, and they wouldn't let me target it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, like I said, a case-by-case basis too at the end of the day, because it all depends on your company size and then, what Google gives you in Performance Max.
Yeah.
Because,
Google considers you privileged enough or not.
Yeah.
How much are y'all using demographics?
Not too often.
No.
It's very broad, and it's, I don't know. I don't really like it, to be honest, to start. I'd use that later on if we're hitting a ceiling on budget, or scaling.
FA Onkar, do y'all use demographics?
No.
Sometimes it depends on the client. Actually, we don't have an SOP for the Performance Max because it's so wild and so broad. Like, for example, I mean, if you don't like this, you can always cut it out. So I'm just going to tell the story. So we had a client and a specialist like Halal, shout out to him. Halal figured out that most of the customers are male, and this is for like, what was that product you with this, and it removes the hair removal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So you expect to sell to the woman, right? But all the conversions are coming from the male audiences, and we thought like, hey, since maybe people use one laptop, maybe there's only one laptop in the households, and we run this idea to the client, and he said most of my clients are transgender people. So that gave us a whole new demographics. We asked for new assets. We targeted, we tried to target those people, like that demographic, and we're just waiting for the results.
Dude, so that's such an interesting soundbite, because with the way that Performance Max is working, especially with the custom segments, if you found out that I have a lot of transgender people who are purchasing my product, there are a ton of websites that would help you identify that audience that aren't related to the product. Yeah. So there's probably like, you know, like a forum or you know, communities that you could go online and say like, okay, this is who my audience is. And if they're going to this website, then I know that they're transgender. And as much as we can do to be expansive there, I think that we should, because it's like, you're no longer Google is such a bottom of the funnel intent-based keyword focused paradigm. And the fact that we're flipping that, it's really hard. It's hard to change the way that you're thinking from keyword to audience. That's a great example, F.A. I appreciate that one.
Yeah, it's more like Facebook ads right now, and I love it.
Yeah. The best audience signal, apart from affinity, like for all the accounts, our custom segment audiences are working. So yeah, we should play with custom segment audiences. So yeah, we have 3-4 options in there, so we should try each and everything. Yeah, and there are
with the custom segments. Have y'all played with the people who use similar apps similar to X?
I haven't expanded that yet. No.
I'm excited about that, because there's a lot that an app can tell you, you know, like if we're going after, I don't know what, high net worth individuals, like there's specific, you know, maybe you're targeting, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
There's like the financial management. I don't know. I'm not a high net worth individual, so I don't know what you know what I mean? Like we can go figure out what apps those people use, and we can be like, okay, I'm going to get ready. If I wanted to target Usama, I'd be like Candy Crush. I'd target anybody who plays Candy Crush. Yes. It strikes me as a Candy Crusher.
Or Flappy Bird, if you guys remember that.
Is that what that was? Yeah. I remember Flappy Bird.
Come on.
You know who told me to use demographics was Alric Heck. He and I had a conversation, and he said targeting YouTube, he uses a household income, and he does top whatever, depending on what it is that he's offering, but he always segments by household income, because once you get to that lower 50%, you kind of, there's not a lot you can advertise.
We're actually, so that now that you brought up the income, we're actually doing that in an account that we got recently. They sell jewelry, and they sell it across multiple countries. So a lot of these are like, I want to say lower income countries, right? And what we're doing in the Performance Max campaigns is we're setting the household income threshold to above 30%, like the top 30% of earners there as a target, because we don't want everyone below that with the people that are just browsing and looking through junk traffic.
With the income span, like household income, for most of the accounts, you will see that you will find that there are more conversions in other category. So we should also target other categories, because Google can't segment all the people in their specific categories.
That can even give you like insights as well too for other audiences. Like you can use that to farm out, be like, oh, these types of people are this audience. Okay, let's target this audience. I think a lot of the audience structure just kind of comes down to, you know, number one, like I said earlier, the budget, but coming to, you know, a very targeted audience that you know is in your market, and then feeding, you know, the system like more audiences to then scale up and then broaden out more and more, and then leveraging the insight tab to help that process as well too. I think demographics, I didn't think about it being like a very, I guess, very niche down, but it makes total sense to, you know, target, you know, top 30% or top 10% for specific, you know, specific services. Yeah.
Depends on our goals too, right? Like, so this is something we haven't done yet as an agency, I don't think at all. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but we could go super top of the funnel. We could go list building, right? Like selling lead magnets, basically. You make that the goal, and then you can go to a broad top of the funnel audience.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested, because I remember Facebook used to get like $2 and $3 CPLs. Y'all remember that? Like, I wonder if we could replicate that now inside of Google Ads using Performance Max. That'd be really exciting to test.
We could, if they would let us do targeting. But since there's signals, it just keeps, you can start it, but then it'll just go its own way. If it started letting us target audiences, then that would be a game changer in terms of building out proper full funnels with respect to creating.
Right? So like, wouldn't the machine learning kind of take care of the targeting itself? You give it the signal, say, this is who I think you should be going after. And then they start to see who within that signal is working.
Yeah, but then how would you narrow it down? Because the way it used to work was that you used to build that audience with, let's just say it was viewers on Facebook. And then in the next campaign, you would target only those viewers. And then the next campaign, you would target the people that would add to cart kind of situation. In the next campaign, you would target only initiate checkout.
I see. So your funnel was built inside of the campaigns. I'm almost thinking that we have a goal for download my white paper and then send them to this audience, and we let Google do the thing without trying to build the bridge ourselves.
It's worth a test.
Yeah, but the problem is with that is like you say.
I love how nice you guys are to me, by the way. Everybody's like, that was the dumbest idea we've ever heard, but we're not going to say it because it's a YouTube channel.
It's just because of YouTube. That's it. That's the only reason.
Keep it PG.
Right, F.A., what were you saying?
I was going to say that, like, you remember, the remarketing click will be in the same campaign that got the first click. So you got the first click to get to the lead magnet. So right now you got the lead magnet, but will this campaign let this campaign run for that person? So that's the question here. With
Should
Facebook,
we be running separate asset
like,
groups to the remarketing? This is actually tangential to what you're saying, but shouldn't like one best practice always be remarketing asset group?
Yes.
Yep, it's the visitor and the non-converter one.
Exactly.
We're just targeting all visitors and add to cart and checkout with people.
All right.
That's our
So far, we've come up with one SOP.
No, we haven't.
It'll probably change.
Yeah, it'll probably change. F.A., I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, I was done.
Okay, good. What aren't we hitting?
We're gonna have
I'm
add
monopolizing conversation. What's the stuff y'all want to talk about that we're not getting to yet?
Insight tab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think
Yeah,
John
group
already
tab.
talked about it a lot, but yeah, with Insight tab we can do a lot. So as I told that we have to play with custom segments. So in Insight tab we get like two insights for now. So first is audience insight and second is keywords insight. I think that's
Search
the two
theme.
insights.
Yeah.
Search theme.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Search
So so in there we get like different search themes, and the SOP right now is we have to copy all the keywords in that particular search theme, and we have to like create a custom segment. And first we have to create an asset group and we have to target that custom segment. It can be purchase intent, so custom segment purchase intent for that specific keyword theme or search term theme. So yeah, that's how we are doing. And for audiences, the same thing. Like if you see that the specific audience is having like 50%, more than 50% conversion share, create a separate audience, asset group, and target that specific audience. And then Google will explore more that Google will explore that audience, and then it will optimize for that audience specifically with that asset group.
It's kind of like what you were saying earlier too, Kasim. More, I guess, proof towards that is, the whole spaceship concept of like you're guiding it in a direction, and there's so many things going on that like you have to drive it. You're unable to like, stick shift and like, be like, a race car driver, for the analogy, you said like a race car driver or something like that. And, you're going like 200 miles an hour versus now you're going like thousands of miles an hour because there's just so much going on in the background. And so steering out where you want to go is even more important because you're covering way more distance whenever you do that. And that
I love that analogy, Caden. Those well positioned.
I mean, you came up with it, so.
What? Of course he did. Of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I stole it from
my raise.
Yeah, somebody who hasn't been given
Kasim's
adequate
idea.
attribution and credit.
No.
No, I thought this was. So I want to do more of this. If y'all don't mind, I want to do more strategy meetings. I'd like to make them public. If you're watching this, I'd love to know what topics you'd like our strategy team to talk about. And if we were to do a recurring video series, you guys guide, especially our members. So if you signed up for the Solutions 8 membership, super appreciate you. Thank you for the support, and we'll be counting your vote with greater weight, because y'all are obviously the ones that have, raised your hand and said, hey, we're sort of investing in this too. And we want to make sure that investment pays off. We've still got a couple minutes. Last words from everybody. We'll go around. Caden first.
Daily Google News. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Hashtag Daily Google News. Usama.
Take everything we say with a grain of salt, because tomorrow it could be completely different.
Dude, and that's what's funny is we kind of don't know what we're doing yet. You know what I mean? It's like we've had a lot of sandbox time, but that's about it. Yeah. Well said. Onkar, last words.
Yeah, test, and test. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Performance Max. You have to test.
Test cubed.
Yep.
FA.
Don't use templated stuff. Like, try different things and find out what works for you.
Dude, so you stole mine. I was going to say there are no more golden rules. That's exactly right. And that's tough for us because we used to jump on YouTube and say the new golden rule is, and now it's funny. We've had an hour-long conversation about how to build an SOP for audiences, and we didn't come out with any SOP.
We probably confuse people more than
probably, yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of nuggets individually. It's like when we talked about individual use cases, it's like, oh, I could use that or I could use that, but you have to get in, you have to get your hands dirty, and you have to try. Like this is, you really have to dive deep, and you have to be real comfortable with failure. Like most things are going to fail forward. That's what's cool about Google though, is unlike Facebook, you target an audience and it'd be like, oh, that didn't work. Google is actually telling us like, hey, this insight or these audiences are outperforming these audiences and kind of helping guide us towards something.
Oh yeah, that's a bit of it. You could be completely wrong with your targeting, and if you waited long enough, Google will tell you which direction to go.
That's so funny, dude. Yeah. Cool. We'll do this again. Appreciate y'all watching. Shoot a video every day. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Wait, before you go, I'm constantly looking for amazing people to come join our team. So if you're passionate about Google Ads and you're passionate about customer success, please go to solate.com/apply. And we'd love to see you as a part of the Solutions 8 team. Also, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that we actually know what we're doing. And don't forget to subscribe. We shoot a video every single day, and I don't want you to miss out on any of it. Lastly, if you have questions, comments, concerns, confessions, or you just hate my face and my voice, go ahead and hit us up in the comments. We get very little human interaction, and even the heckling is something that I kind of get a kick out of. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being subscribers if you're a subscriber. Don't forget to apply if you're interested in working at Solutions 8. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.